starting with just a little bit of background, there was an event or a moment where I hurt my right shoulder while I was working out, doing push-ups. However, I'm pretty sure now that my shoulder was compromised from 20 years of wear and tear on a computer, specifically using a mouse, doing really intricate, precise design work. At the time before I got the treatment, I had basically two feelings. My shoulder was always fatigued when I would use it on the computer, but when this moment happened, I definitely could tell that my shoulder was compromised. I had kind of weakness in my bicep. It was achy, just nonstop. Different levels of pain, but just constant achiness. That was just the general feeling on my shoulder. A more overwhelming feeling was the stress once I got the MRI and I started to hear about my options from traditional orthopedic surgeons. Once you start to research the traditional approaches and you understand the process, the recovery time, the cost and risk, you're going to be in a sling for 6 months. There's a high probability you're going to have multiple shoulder surgeries in the future. That's when I felt high stress.
So Carl came to me about 3.5 years ago with a shoulder issue that was limiting him quite a bit. He had an MRI that showed a large rotator cuff tendon tear, as well as some damage to the labrum, which is a different part in the shoulder. That rotator cuff tendon, specifically called the supraspinatus, is one of the important shoulder stabilizing tendons and also allows us to move our arms in all the directions that we are able to, including overhead.
Once you hear about the treatment that Dr. D provides, it's worth the risk.
We ended up treating him with a 3-step procedure using bone marrow cells from his pelvis, as well as concentrated platelets called PRP, or platelet-rich plasma.
And so when I went into the treatment, my experience was basically, I got the treatment done, outpatient treatment, but it was basically 3 days of moderate achiness in my shoulder. And then after those 3 days, almost a week after that, I started slow physical therapy on it. Within a month, I was back to all the activities that I couldn't do before. Working on the computer, day-to-day lifting, regular activities, home improvement projects, landscaping projects. Besides explosive movements, that took a little bit longer, just adjusting to sleeping on my shoulder. Sometimes sleeping on it aggravated a little bit. Besides those two small things, within 2 months, I was basically back to normal. Swimming, hiking, doing all this regular stuff that I didn't do before. And so if I would have gone the traditional route, it would have been a minimum 6 months before I could even do any of that. At the end of the day, my body at this point, it feels healed.
Very happy to hear how functional and pain-free he has been since his procedure, and happy he was able to avoid surgery.
Definitely recommend get a consultation and evaluate this alternative. But now I'm going back and we're evaluating back spasms. We'd go on road trips, I was sitting in the car or sitting having dinner, I started having some back spasms. It's been a godsend to be able to go to a doctor, kind of leveraging some of these new technologies and these new techniques. It's a godsend to be able to have a trusted resource alternative to surgeries. I think it speaks a lot of Dr. Derrington and his staff and the treatment process that I'm kind of coming back and having him evaluate my back.